it seemed like he was going to be okay. Then I get a call from the hospital with my wife, with Ashley, and they had told me that I needed to get there quick. And they said, this is urgent. And so, when I get there, they ask me, they say, well, we have to make a decision. You have to, not we. They said, you have to make a decision. Wasn't her decision. They put it on me. And I'm like, okay, what is it? They said, well, you need to choose which do you want to live?
So let's talk about children. Children are a beautiful gift, but when they come, there's sometimes issues. So how did children affect your marriage? And how did you learn to raise them as one?
Our cases, it was a little bit unusual because both of our kids were preemies.
Yeah.
And Austin, we had a tough go with him, really tough. I mean, many days in the hospital.
Yes.
And so what it did was it forced us to pray more. And because we didn't have, that's what it took. When we thought we had Austin, we finally got him to a point where, it seemed like he was going to be okay. Then I get a call from the hospital with my wife, with Ashley, and they had told me that I needed to get there quick. And they said, this is urgent. And so, when I get there, they ask me, they say, well, we have to make a decision. You have to, not we. They said, you have to make a decision. Wasn't her decision. They put it on me. And I'm like, okay, what is it? They said, well, you need to choose which do you want to live? They said, your wife, if we don't take the baby now, your wife is going to die. And they said, well, if we take the baby, they said that the baby won't live. And so that's pretty tough. What do you do? So, and I didn't have a day. I didn't have an hour. I had to make a decision. And I just, at that point, when you're married, you have to, I just called on God. I said, God, excuse me. I said, I don't know. And it seemed like the Lord he just seemed like he spoke and said it'd be all right. And they told me, they said, well, we'll deliver. And I said, we'll deliver the baby. They said, she won't make it 30 seconds. They said, we'll bring a towel. They don't even believe they even told you those things.
No, I didn't know until he mentioned it here at church about 3 or 4 years ago.
So I told him to do that. And then it seemed like the Lord had said everything's going to be all right. They said the baby won't be moving. And so, I think that we had been praying. Sometimes God will do things to make you, become one and pray. And it's just something about that day I'll never forget, that as they went in, they made the cut, and all of a sudden they must have rang a bell, because there was people coming in, and then as they tried to go in and get Ashley, they said that she wouldn't be moving, but she was moving to one side, moving to another side. Then once they were able to get her out, they couldn't contain her because they was putting the little wires in, and she was pulling those out. And through all that, she made it. Amen. So we didn't. It was a long road, and what that did for us, it was something that we thought about all the time, what God had done.
Yes.
And so when God does something for you like that, He spares her. You make it through it, but you thank Him more often. And so whenever we have, I think even with our children, when things are not going right, we look at where God has brought us from, and we look at how He made things beautiful. And so just through our kids alone, that brings us to I would say, a happy medium, if that would be a word to use. And so,
how's it affected our life? I think it's been a wonderful thing, because all I ever wanted to be was a mother. And I can tell you, you can read all the books in the world, but it still doesn't prepare you. I thought I would have, when we decided to start our family, I thought I would just have the perfect pregnancy and all of that, and none of that ended that way, because we got our house first, and then we planned our family. And then Austin, who was our first child. So what I want to say too is God blessed us with 2 miracles. Not 1, but 2. Some people never experience a miracle in their lifetime. But with my babies, our babies, first one, Austin, who was 2 pounds, 13 ounces. My water broke at 22 weeks and 3 days. I stayed in St. Francis from November the 14th of 1997. And I came out January the 4th of 1998. I was there 50 days, and God worked a miracle. But that's a whole nother story. But he is now 26 years old. Ashlyn, almost 5 years later, God decided to work another miracle. Had even a procedure that they do for you, which is called a cerclage. Had that put in so that she could stay in longer. Didn't work. Water broke at 24 weeks. Carried her to 26 weeks, and she was born at 1 pound, 14 ounces. And here she is, 21 years old. So how have our children affected us? I believe God wanted us to see, He wanted to show the world His miracles. Not that we had done anything that great, and that's what I always say, not that I did anything that special, but I believe He loved me that much, and He always knew that I wanted children. And even before I had children, I would give to backpack program, I'd give to all these different things, St. Jude, anything that involved children, not knowing that I was going to be in the hospital. And so how did it affect us? I tell you what, it sure brings you together. Because our first baby here, Austin, and here I almost lost him. But what I told the Lord in the hospital room when I was in there by myself, I told him, I said, I have not been your best child, but I sure haven't been your worst. And I said, and if you could just give us a miracle, just this one time, I said, I'll appreciate it. And you know what? And I still believe until this day that He heard me. So how have they affected us? It's been a wonderful thing. You have all these books that come with parenting. Look, each child is different. We're different. We're not perfect parents. But you know what? I always tell my children, but always have your best interests at heart. And so I think it was a blessing to us, because when people hear our stories, I don't think that they always believe it, but I still know all those nurses from St. Francis, and Ashlyn was born at St. Joe. And they still are amazed. And again, not that we did anything that special, but look, I know that God is still alive and He's still well. And I know some would say, oh, but it's because of the doctors. It's because, yeah, technology helped, but look, I still know that God had His hand on them. So I think it's been a wonderful thing as far as us.
Mhm.
And so